Our topic tonight is drought proofing your home and landscape. Water is a precious resource in California, and droughts are pretty much a regular part of our reality. As our climate crisis intensifies, it's likely that we'll experience more severe droughts more frequently and for longer periods of time. It's important for all of us to be prepared and to use our water wisely. Our guest tonight is Chris Dundon. Chris has been the water conservation supervisor for the Contra Costa Water District for almost 30 years. Chris has a bachelor's degree in landscape architecture and has many years experience in landscape and irrigation design. During his tenure at CCWD, he has developed many water conservation programs and has been actively involved with statewide water conservation issues. In 2019, Chris was the recipient of Sustainable Contra Costa's Leadership and Sustainability Award and was the Irrigation Person of the Year for the California Irrigation Institute. Welcome, Chris. Thank you for joining us. Fascinating topic. You know, as we discuss the topics for summertime, you know, July, it's hot, everybody's got a garden, people are trying to keep their landscapes alive. And we thought, what a perfect topic to talk about how to drought proof our home and our landscape. So give us some tips. How do we do that? Help us save some water.
Absolutely, Mark. Well, yeah, I think I'll start the presentation. There's many things people can do. So let me go ahead and share my screen here.
Chris, actually, 1 second. I just want to, we forgot to remind everyone, you are all muted right now because when we have a large group, you know, it's hard to have a background noise and distraction. So as Chris is doing his presentation, you are encouraged to ask your question in the chat. So if you're not familiar with chat for Zoom, you just go down to the bottom, you'll see that control bar, and there's a little speech bubble that says chat, and you can type in any question you have. We'll keep an eye on the chat, and when we have a chance toward the end, we will ask those questions of Chris. Also, Chris, remember to try to give as much volume as you can.
You got it. Okay, so here we go. Okay. Sorry.
Perfect. All good.
All right. Well, welcome everyone, and thank you for joining us this evening. Today we're going to talk about my passion, which is water conservation, and specifically, I want to talk about how to drought-proof your home. So I want to start with the water supply itself. For Contra Costa Water District, and this applies to other Bay Area water suppliers as well, Sierra Snowpack is our water supply. And if you think of the snowpack as a reservoir, that's essentially what it is. It's like a giant reservoir, a giant tank. It holds water all winter and then releases it slowly in the spring. That water then flows down rivers and does incredible environmental things. I'll be right near the Merced River tomorrow around this time. But as the rivers flow down, they join other bigger rivers, the Sacramento and the San Joaquin. And that water flows into our delta, which is the Sacramento-San Joaquin Delta. That is the supply for Contra Costa Water. We have pumps at several places, Middle River, Old River, Rock Slough, and we pump right out of the delta down towards Brentwood, and it goes in, if you look in the lower right-hand corner, the Contra Costa Canal. And when I talk about the canal, I'm talking about our main canal. It goes all the way down Highway 4 to our treatment plant, which is in Concord. And we have one of the most state-of-the-art treatment plants, I'd say, in the world. And that water is treated to high-level drinking standards. And then it is put into a distribution system for you to use at home. And I don't know how often your water's ever gone out compared to PG&E, but typically people can go a decade and not have a water outage. So our water supply is very reliable and very high quality. Water supply, however, gets affected by that first reservoir I talked about, snowpack. Droughts affect the snowpack temporarily. And when I say temporarily, it might be a couple of years. The photo on the left was January 2013. That was the snowpack. The one on the right was January of 2014. It was even worse the year after that. So snowpack is definitely affected by drought, and that means our water supply. And climate change is going to affect it in the long run permanently. So why improve it? You can reduce your water bills. I mean, plain and simple, if you want to think about it that way. But what I really like is that saved water stays in the delta and it stays in the rivers longer. And that's a good thing for fish and the whole ecosystem. And then if you drought proof your home, that is going to help you the next time we have a drought. And I want to assure you, in the old days, when we had a drought, you immediately heard the agencies say, hey, everybody cut 30% compared to last year. And then a few years later, oh, cut 20% of last year. That's not going to happen anymore. Generally, we're looking for a target. So a water use in gallons per day target. So if you're already down there, there's not going to be a whole lot asked of you. So that's how you can, that's why drought proofing your home has a value to you. So how much do we actually use? Well, I did an analysis for our service area here. On average, in the winter time, Contra Costa Water District single family customers use an average of 150 gallons every single day. So that's the average water use for a family. I know some families are 6 people and some are 1, so it's just an average for the whole service area. And that goes up to 360 in the summer. So these numbers, by the way, are quite a bit lower than they were back in the early 2000s. All of you, our customers, have really improved your efficiency since then. So I want to talk about indoor fixtures and outdoor fixtures. So let's start with the indoor ones. I picked 3 because these are the 3 biggies: your clothes washer, your toilets, and your shower heads. If each of these you can improve the efficiency, you're going to dramatically improve that winter number. So clothes washers. If you have an old style clothes washer and you convert it to a high efficiency one, which is really all you can buy nowadays, you can save a considerable amount of water. Water use in the old ones can be as high as 45 gallons per load and down to 13 for the new ones. When you go to purchase a clothes washer, look for that blue symbol there, Energy Star. Energy Star is a logo that's going to show that it's going to save energy and water. Because guess what? When you save, for example, 9,000 gallons of water per year by buying one of these, you're saving generally hot water. So you're going to save on your bill, on your PG&E bill as well. So look for that Energy Star label, do your research, and you can make a great investment there if you're looking to buy one. Toilets. Toilets, oh my gosh, I've talked more about toilets my whole career than I really care to. Back in the 70s, toilets were 5 gallons and more. In the 80s, there were 3.5. In the 90s, they dropped to 1.6. And currently, state of California requires all toilets to be 1.28 gallons. Now, some of you might be saying, yeah, those low flow toilets, you got to double flush them. And that was true. That was true in the early 90s. Nowadays, the toilets are a whole lot better quality, but like anything you buy, you got to do your research. So when you go to buy a toilet, and again, you can save about 8,000 gallons per year. When you go to buy a toilet, if you have a make and model you're interested in, I want you to go to this website. It's called maptesting.com, www.maptesting.com. I think there's a dash between the word map and testing. That's a third party that was basically, they created themselves to test these toilets. And if you can buy a toilet that flushes greater than 600 grams per flush, and that's how they rate them, you're going to do well. So go to the map test when you're looking to buy a toilet, and I think you'll be happy. Again, with toilets, I want you to think about testing them every now and again for leaks. So there's 2 places they leak. In this picture, you'll see on the lower part of the tank, that rubber thing, that's called the flapper. If that thing gets old, it can get warped and water can seep down that drain. And it doesn't go on your floor, it goes into your bowl and then down the drain. And the same with the overflow tube, which is that white tube in the middle. If the water level is set too high, water's constantly going down that tube, again, down the drain. So check both of those, and the easy way to check for the flapper leak is to put food coloring in your tank water. And if you want to come by Contra Costa Water or call us, we will mail you some dye tablets, and you can drop a couple of those in and test. And then one thing I really recommend, if you're going to replace the flapper, don't go into a big box store and just buy it. try and figure out what your make and model is of your toilet and go on a website and buy the one for that toilet. You'll find it works much better. Shower heads. Now, there is some debate out there as to how long your shower could be. I like to take a 15-minute shower. My wife, she takes a 5-minute shower. So it's debatable whether that's a real conservation thing or not. For me, it's for my back. But for Contra Costa Water, we recommend that your that your shower heads flow between 1.75 and 2 gallons. Anything over 2, you're wasting water. And you can get a high quality shower head that flows at 2 gallons a minute. You can take shorter showers, that saves water. You can do a military shower, which is turn the water off when you're sudsing up. And in fact, you can buy a shower head that has an on-off switch that can help you do that. If you'd like one that looks a little bit like this one, CCWD has free shower heads. You're probably going to need to wait till we open up our lobby, but if you want to get some, we're not going to mail those. I think they're too heavy, but you can come by and get one for free. So I sort of covered the 3 biggies on the inside. Landscape is really where a lot of water use is. And you know for your house if that's true or not, depending upon how many zones of irrigation you have. So I like to look at landscape actions or savings for water efficiency in 3 ways. There's a no cost way, there's low cost, and then there's investments. So I'm kind of going to go through each of those. So no cost savings fall into these 3 categories: adjusting your water schedules regularly, stop overwatering old established shrubs, and inspect your irrigation system. So I want to go into each of those briefly. Adjusting your schedule. If you only do this once in the spring and once in the fall, you have a lot of savings you could have. You need to adjust the days per week about once a month, maybe once every month and a half. You need to use what's called cycle and soak. That is a method where instead of watering for 15 straight minutes, you adjust your timer to come on 3 times during the night for 5 minutes each. So with our heavy clay soil, if you water for 15 minutes, the water is running off to the low points and you're not watering the high points very well, and you're oversaturating the low points, or it's going into the sidewalk or driveway. Using the cycle and soak, where you do smaller run times, 5 minutes and then an hour in between and then another 5, you'll find the water soaks in much better. And then of course, everyone kind of knows the time of day. Never ever water in the middle of the day. You're just going to lose all your water to evaporation. Everything I just talked about, which I know was kind of fast, is in our lawn and landscape watering schedule. It's a great pamphlet we developed specifically for our zone here, Contra Costa County, and you can get it at our website at ccwater.com and then /conserve, and just type in the search what I have written there in black, which is lawn and landscape watering schedule. If you want, call us, we'll mail you one if you can't figure out how to get it there. This is one that a number of landscape professionals that I know we've talked about over the years. Let's say you have a hedge. The lower left is a hedge of oleander, or the middle one is a row of nandina, heavenly bamboo, or many people's favorite photinia down on the right. All of these are really tough shrubs. And if you happen to have sprinkler system under those that's watering a couple days a week, just turn those heads off or turn that zone off, and maybe hand water, soak it a couple of times, 3 times a year. It's really all they're going to need. If you're promoting tons of growth on these and then hedging it off, why not back off on the water? The plant's going to be fine. And we find that, especially in multifamily like HOAs, a lot of the shrubs are way overwatered. And the last one is fixing broken stuff, irrigation. So sprinklers, everything. So running into these. So if the only time you see your sprinklers on is like once a year when you're checking it, check it more often, because if during the night your irrigation is running, but by the time you get in your car and go to work, you don't see this picture on the left, you can have a break for months and not know about it. Or you might have a block sprinkler. That's the one on the right there. The way to check for that is if you know you're going to mow your lawn on Saturday, so that's your mow day. On Friday, go turn the sprinklers on. This is your one excuse to turn it on during the day. Turn it on, and that's when your grass blades are the highest they're going to be that week. Well, if they're blocking that sprinkler head, it may not look like much, but basically you're flooding the area right next to the sprinkler and you're underwatering the area beyond. So you can solve that by raising the sprinkler up, replacing it with a higher pop-up, or you can just simply take a weed whip and do a little half circle in front of the head there. Any of those will work, but you'll find that your lawn will look better with the same amount of water. And then maybe you could take a minute off your schedule. And there you go, you've saved a little water. So the upper picture there, misting sprinklers, that is a result of high pressure. When your pressure is too high, the sprinklers can't handle it, so they mist. And all of that water just flies with the wind downwind. So the way to solve that is you either put a pressure regulator back at your sprinkler valve, or you can replace sprinklers with pressure compensating sprinklers, and then they won't do that. And the third way is if it's just a little bad, you can take your valve stem and close it part way, and it kind of creates a barrier, which creates friction, which lowers the pressure. So there's a little pressure loss. But if you have that throughout your whole system, you're probably better off putting a pressure regulator back before all the valves. Now the picture on the bottom, I know nobody would have this happen, but you can have a sprinkler head that's supposed to be a half head watering all the grass, and somehow it got turned 90 degrees and it's watering the sidewalk. So again, just turning it on, maybe it's 4 times a year, and you just walk through and you look for this stuff and fix it as you go, is a great way to make your landscape look better and save some water as you're going. And then the last one is drip lines. Drip, you don't see it because it's under the mulch maybe. So turn on your drip and listen and walk around, and you can hear a break and you can see a break, and then have some of the tools to fix those. A goof plug, you might have to cut the pipe and put it back together, but it's fairly easy to do. But if either of these is happening, the rest of your emitters are not working as well, so the rest of your plants are not getting water. So those are all fairly easy things to do and spot just by doing a basic walkthrough of your system. So now I want to talk about some investments, small investments you can make. So the first one is upgrading the sprinklers. So the photograph on the left, many of us have, either in our lawns or in our shrub areas, and those are what we refer to as pop-up spray heads. They're called fixed spray. So the sprinklers are spraying constantly, and those kind of heads, if I were to put some tuna fish cans, say empty cat food cans out on that lawn, and I ran that for a full hour, those sprinklers put down water at about a rate of 1.5 inches per hour. So that's what we call the application rate, 1.5 inches per hour. The sprinkler on the right puts water down at about 0.5 inch per hour. So it's about 1/3. And they now have these great nozzles. These are called rotator nozzles that you can retrofit your existing sprinklers by simply screwing it in the top. And these these rotator nozzles put the water down slower, so it allows your clay soil to absorb it better. And it's a wonderful way to save water. You'll improve your lawn, you'll improve your shrubs, and they're kind of fun to watch. They look a lot better. So it's a really great investment, and it's a small investment. They're not, I think the nozzles you're buying are probably going to be about $6 a piece. Another small investment, a little bit bigger than the last one, is converting to drip. So if you have a hedgerow of plants that just maybe up against a fence or up against your house, and the sprinklers end up spraying and just flooding the area, convert it to drip. It's real easy. And or if you have a lawn you want to take out, you can convert your existing sprinkler system to a drip system. Fairly easy to do. They have now this picture in the middle. It looks like a sprinkler head, but then it has a drip tube on it. It's called a drip conversion kit. And Rainbird makes one, and I think another company, Agrifin, makes one. And it allows you to screw this thing in that looks like a sprinkler, but it actually has a pressure regulator and a filter, and then you can run your drip tubing. It's really a great way, and if you need any assistance, you can always call CCWD. We can help you a little bit. And the last investment is a smart sprinkler timer. So if you're already hand watering, you're probably going to be more efficient hand watering. I should say you'll use less water. You may not be more efficient, but you'll use less water. But if you have a sprinkler timer, and it's a normal one that you kind of forget to reset, buy one of these. And this particular brand seems to be doing really well, Ratio, but there's a number of them out there. It allows you to run your sprinkler system off of your smartphone. And the really neat thing is you could be at your condo in Maui and you go, wow, I need to turn my sprinklers off. I hear it's raining in California. You can just do it with a touch of a button. But you probably won't need to, because this timer receives a daily input of weather data. So it adjusts the weekly schedule every day based on real weather for our area. These are just the best thing ever. In my lifetime, working with irrigation, I can't believe how cheap they've come down. These type of systems for commercial used to be $10,000, $15,000, and this thing will cost you under 300 bucks. So they've really come a long way. So if you're going to buy a smart sprinkler timer, before you run out and buy it, if you're East Bay Mud customer or your Contra Costa customer, check out the websites. We have rebates for you. So we'll be able to pay you in or about a third of the cost of this. We'll rebate you after you buy it. Now with the last one, I've got a single item here for big investment, and that is converting your lawn to a water-wise landscape. The picture on the lower left is one of our customers. They used a ton of water because they had a lawn, uses a fair amount, but that slope caused water to run off because they just couldn't keep it there. And they put this nice garden in, and we provided a rebate. Our rebate is quite generous. It's $1 a square foot up to $1,000. And the key thing is, if you want to be in our rebate program, the same with East Bay Mud, is to call and get a application, get approved before you start digging. But it's really a great investment, and you'll improve your property value, and you're going to love your front yard. Oh, and there's my slide about the rebate. So just know that you can get a rebate for doing that. So recap, indoors, the 3 biggies: clothes washers, toilets, and shower heads. I didn't mention the 4th biggie, which is leaks. Leaks are slowly becoming one of the top 5 for customers. You won't always have one, but when you do, it becomes a bigger issue. In landscape, we talked about the no cost, the small, and the large investments. So you may be asking yourself, does this really work? And I'm going to show you proof that it works for one of our customers, and that happens to be me. I live in a neighborhood with 50 similar homes. Over time, we moved here in the year 1999. In that time, I replaced the clothes washer, the toilets, the shower heads. I have 2 boys, they're now moved out. We did the back landscape first. We took the lawn out and put in a native landscape, and then we did the front yard later. And I don't know if our behavior is super water conserving, because I take really long showers. My youngest son takes the longest showers, but this slide right here is sort of proof what you can do. So to sort of show you around this slide, at the bottom, you'll see the years listed. So from 2006 all the way to 2018. And then the red line, that's my consumption. So you can see on the first one, on average, my household used 227 gallons on average every day during the year 2006. And my 49 neighbors used an average of 393. Some of them used a whole lot more than that, and some of them used less, but that was the average for the 49 homes. And I live in basically it's 1986 tract homes, so we're all pretty much the same. But you can see over time, I reduced, made investments. I think the landscape went in 2009 and 10. I think 2009, the lawn was dead, and then 2010, the landscape went in. And then in 2015, I had been watering my WaterWise landscape in July, 2 days per week. And because we were asking people to conserve, and because of my job, I thought, hey, let's cut it back to 1 day a week. And so for 2015 and 16, I never watered more than a day a week. Landscape looked fine. And then in 2018, I had a big leak, which I figured out after 15 days. But you can basically see the investment, made a huge difference. We don't do anything daily much different than others. I think it's the investment in fixtures, and I consider the lawn or landscape a fixture. So in the last 10 years, or I looked at the last 10 years on that graph, we use 627,000 gallons less than the average neighbor. That's a ton of water. That's a real ton of water. And you can do this. You can easily do this if you just make those investments, over time. So I want you to think about how you could take action. Okay, so where can you save the most water? Maybe you want to look at your winter and summer use. Well, don't just grab all your old bills. We have a new service called My Water Report. That's the website right there. If you go to that website, ccwater.com, it's ccwater.com/mywaterreport. It's going to ask you for your account number and your zip code, and you can basically log in and see your own consumption going back 10 years. So it's a great way for you to look at every single bill and see, where am I using most of my water? Is it winter? Is it summer? Then your fixtures, the three we talked about, how old are they? If you have 1970s toilets, you might want to consider those. And then what factors next is how many people. So for example, if you're a household of 5 and you have old toilets, I would say that's your investment because you have a lot of toilet use. But if you have one person in the house and you have old toilets, it may not be as big a deal. So you can kind of think of those different factors to determine where you might want to start. Your landscape, of course, is a big one. If you have a 12-station timer and you're using all 12 stations, landscape might be a big one for you. And then if you have a lot of lawn and any unused lawn, you might consider our rebate program. So those are some things to think about to take action. One of the first things you could do is we have a free service for Contra Costa. It's called WaterWise House Call. And we will come to your house with the COVID pandemic. We keep a very social distance. Both parties have to wear masks, and most of the time you can stay in your house. And we're going to go through your irrigation system, and we're going to give you a written report of all the things like that walkthrough I talked about. We'll list all the things you could do to save water, and it's a free service for our customers. And you can get your bill directly from us, like if you're in Concord or Clayton, or you can be in Antioch, Oakley, Bay Point, Pittsburgh, or Martinez, and we'll do this service as well. And simply go to ccwater.com and you can sign up there, or call us on our main number, which is right there as well. So with that, I think that is my last slide. I think, Tyler, we're ready to take questions if people have any questions.
Yeah, so Chris, we've got a number of different questions here, and I've got quite a few. First question here is, talk about tankless water heaters. I just converted to a tankless water heater, all electric tankless water heater. What's your opinion of those?
And if you're talking about tankless in the garage, so it's replacing, yes. Yeah. So the tankless water heaters are great because you can get constant hot water in your house and it's unlimited. From a water saving standpoint, they don't do anything. And for my son, when he was 15, they would waste water because he would take a 3-hour shower if he had one.
Right.
I think they save energy. That's what I've been told, because you're not running that water heater, heating that water all the time. So in Europe, they'll have little ones in each bathroom. So from a water saving standpoint, there's nothing there, but for energy, I think I've heard there is. So.
Yeah, and along that line, I find that one of the factors in that is the distance from the water heater to the point of use.
Okay.
And all the cold water that's got to go through. And what do you do with that cold water? Now, and I know a lot of people put buckets in their shower, then you got to carry this bucket out. And so far, I divert it out the window and down into my landscaping. But you mentioned the European style of having localized water heaters, because you only need it for a short amount of time.
Yeah.
Right? You turn it on, it's instant heat and so forth. So there's a whole rethinking of our hot water distribution system in our houses.
Well, that's a very good point. And one item I didn't talk about is these hot water recirculating systems you can buy. And if you go to our website, I don't know exactly where it is, but if you're on the conservation page and if you, in the search, type in hot water recirculating, we have a whole page on that describes, there are systems where you go to the farthest bathroom from your water heater, and you install this device, and then something else you install back at the water heater. And it essentially uses the cold water line as a return to the hot water. But I will tell you, the amount you're saving when you're standing there waiting for the water, if you ever actually capture it, you'll see the volume. And it could be a gallon, it could be maybe a gallon and a half. It's not a huge amount, but it's so visible, isn't it? You're looking at it going down the drain.
It's just going down the drain, exactly. Store it up and use it for cooking or whatever. Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah. But so along those lines, I put in a dishwasher, a good Samsung dishwasher this year. For the first time in 35 years, I finally learned how to use a dishwasher. And, it's recommended as an add-on to the house and so forth. But from your opinion, I used to hand wash, you're turning it on, turning it off, or you're letting it run, whatever, versus a dishwasher. What's your opinion of dishwashers?
So dishwashers today are really efficient. In the last 15 years, they're really efficient, but even today, they're even more so. So from a standpoint of efficiency, a dishwasher is going to be more efficient than hand washing. It all depends on how you hand wash. I had a friend in college who used very little water, but I wouldn't want to eat off of her plate. So, but dishwashers now are very efficient, and don't rinse them, scrape them.
That's the other part, right? They're designed not to be pre-rinsed. I've got a friend who has a new one, and yet she insists, because it's how she was raised, that she pre-rinses it. It's fundamentally washing the dishes and then treating it as a sterilizer.
It is, yeah. But it definitely, so if you were deciding to get a dishwasher, that I would definitely get an efficient one and use it. But again, it's not one of the top three. Dishwasher, compared to toilets, clothes washers, and showers, is a smaller volume.
Good to know.
I actually use a scraper, like a rubber spatula, scrape off the plates and then put them in the dish.
Exactly.
Yeah, that makes sense. So we have a question here. This person writes, my sprinklers are working correctly and are aimed at the plants, but the angle of the water is too large for the plants. And as a result, the excess water goes onto the concrete. Is there any way I can fix this, as I am a renter?
Okay.
So how could they decrease the angle, I guess, on a sprinkler head?
Yeah. So if the angle, like if it's supposed to be 180 degrees or a half circle, but it's not, it's a full circle, then you can replace that nozzle. If it's actually, for any of the solutions, you can, if it's an odd shape you're trying to do, and I mean, I'm trying to go like this, the angle this way, you can buy what's called a variable arc nozzle. And it's just the little nozzle that screws on the top, and you can get one that's variable, so you can adjust it coming in and out. And if that's what the question meant, you can buy that. I don't know, it's under $4, and you could replace that, and the owner would never know.
Good. And along those lines, I see, particularly out in the farmlands, rainbirds. Yeah. Rainbirds seem to be the standard way of irrigating. And I know you're talking about home and landscaping, but in general, for a big lawn, it seems like that would lead to a lot of evaporation. And even the sprayers that you were talking about, what's the typical evaporation rate for any of those arced water distribution systems?
So both of those are better than the fixed spray ones. The photo that I showed, the fixed spray. but the kind of want to show that photo actually.
Well, because they're sending out droplets versus mist.
Yeah. So the picture, I don't know if this is sharing now, but the rotator nozzles that I was talking about replacing spray heads really are way more efficient. And funny enough, they don't look like they're getting water everywhere, but they are, because one sprinkler isn't what you have. You have one going to another one, and they're definitely a big improvement. Spray heads are totally on the way out. The big impact rotors, we had a dance in college, you know.
Right.
That is, those are fairly efficient, but not as good as rotor nozzles and not as good as rotator nozzles.
Okay, so when I'm driving down I-5 or something like that, or on a golf course, I mean, it's a big area to cover. I shouldn't feel quite as outraged with rainbirds.
Are probably some of our most efficient water irrigators when you look at how many inches per year they're putting down.
Wow.
Because it's money, it's big money for them.
Right, wow, okay. You know, one of the things too, I ride my bicycle quite a bit, and I do ride the canal trail, and thank you for having a canal trail. We appreciate that. I've often wondered what the evaporation factor is on the canal and the California aqueduct, which goes through very warm country. And wouldn't it make sense to, you know, invest in a cover for those?
That's a great question. So evaporation, off of a pool or off of a canal. In our service area here, I'm just going to use a really ballpark number here, but it's about 3.5 feet per year. So if you have a standing pond, you know, pool, it's going to evaporate. Anybody on this call who has a pool knows how much they have to fill. And it's generally about 3.5 feet per year, which is close to what we call evapotranspiration rate. It's a little less than that. So you look at the California aqueduct, yeah, it's evaporating. We have our canal, it's 20 miles long from Brentwood all the way to Concord. We are in the beginning stages of replacing that with a pipe, putting it into a pipe.
There you go.
It is one of the reasons, it's about number 16 down the list, is the water savings.
Right.
The people who have died in the canal is one of the top reasons. People have fallen into the canal and people have driven into the canal. What will happen if there's an earthquake and that canal severs? That canal was originally built in the 30s.
Right.
So
that's a good point.
You know, I'd love to say conservation is the #1 reason we're doing it, but it's one of the reasons.
Oh man, that'd be a disaster along some of those neighborhoods, because in many places it's above the neighborhood.
Yeah. So
yeah,
that project is in the early stages.
If it's converted to a pipe, the bike trail would still be there next to it?
Yeah, there might be 2 bike trails.
Okay.
Or you could put it right down the middle of the canal.
Well, that's what he's saying.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Or just widen the trail.
Yeah.
So the other thing, Chris, is that you know, as a homeowner, I'd like to have more real-time feedback about my water use. You know, we talk about net metering, and I can dial in and figure out my PG&E usage by day, by hour, and those kind of things. But at least here in Martinez, where I live, I get it once a month, and it's usually delayed, you know, because the bill comes out every 2 months. And are you seeing, you know, and you listed mywaterreport.com. Where are we with real-time data for homeowners?
So his question is about the type of meter we have. There's a new meter, well, 20 years old, but called a smart meter.
For water.
We call it AMI, automated metering infrastructure. So we are at the beginning stage of looking at it. We have 600 of our customers. If you live in Clyde, you probably have one. If you live in Morgan Territory Road, you probably have one. If you have a very difficult to get to meter, like every median in Concord, we've put these in. So these smart meters allow you as a customer to go on to that portal that I mentioned earlier, which was My Water Report.
Right.
And you can see your water use, not every 60 days, not every 30. You could see it 30, you could see it down to a week, down to a day, down to the hour.
That's what I'm looking for.
It is dynamite. But
Chris, hasn't East Bay Mud switched over to those for the most part as well?
No, they've started.
Oh,
I
okay.
think they've done a big project in Blackhawk, and they're doing it. And other cities are doing it.
Because I have East Bay Mud, and I got the other day my wife accidentally overfilled the pool, and we got an email the next day. Your water use was twice what your normal rate is.
Okay, so you have one. So
But we must have one.
So ironically, I mentioned, in my bio, you mentioned statewide stuff. I've worked with a lot of different agencies. The city of Sacramento, who everyone goes, oh, they don't have meters. Well, they've been metering for the last 20 years. They're going to be finished metering probably in 5 to 8 years, and all of their meters are smart meters. So they're really jumping ahead. But in the meantime, if you as a consumer would like to see your water use down, to the day and the hour, there are some products you can buy. If you want to wait a year, if I can get my rebate program approved, I'll have a rebate. But if you want one now, there's a product called Flume, F-L-U-M-E. If you just Google that, Flume water meter, you'll find it. That's one. There's other companies called Flow, Fin, and the fourth. But Flume, I just worked on mine today. I had to replace the batteries. It attaches onto your meter. It just straps on. You plug a thing in your house for Wi-Fi. You load an app on this phone. I can see my water use down to not the hour, the minute.
Wow.
So that's why I know how many gallons and how many minutes my son takes a shower.
That's great. So Chris, I was thinking, while we were talking about meters, mine is under a slab of concrete, and they tell me don't go taking the lid off. I'm not supposed to. It's the city's property. Blah blah blah. I was thinking, hell, just put a Wi-Fi camera on there that takes a picture, lights up and takes a picture of my meter every minute. How do those other add-ons work without digging it up and actually replacing the meter?
When the water district does it, they're going to replace it. But for you, these add-on ones, they actually go right next to your house. They install in the pipe there.
Oh, okay. They're downstream.
I see that there was a comment about my water report. Someone had trouble opening it.
I gave them the right URL. They thought it was a standalone URL, but
it was
ecwater.com/.
Yeah, it was my slide was wrong. I apologize. Yeah.
So we also have a question here about resources outside of Contra Costa. Are you, I would say, answering that question, that a lot of the tips on the Contra Costa Water District website are applicable pretty much anywhere you live in California. But are you aware of similar sites or similar resources and information further out in other places in California?
Well, yeah. I mean, if you're looking for landscape conservation, many water agencies have really good resources. City of Santa Monica has a fabulous program. City of Santa Barbara.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, they're all over.
And when we get to our tip of the month that I'm going to share, I have a link to a great EPA website. Whatever you think of the federal government, the EPA is still trying to help people conserve water, and they have a great website. And then there's also one in Arizona. So I'll share those when we get to that point.
Yeah, there's one site I'll mention, and this is so on our website. If you go to the conservation page, and then you click on our lawn to garden link, we have a link to a web page called Gardening in Contra Costa County. And when you click on it, you leave the Contra Costa's page. And this is a company that we hired, and it is a plant database with beautiful pictures of gardens and plants, thousands. And then you can create your own plant list. And it is awesome. It is just awesome. And we're one of about 40 water agencies who hired this company. So your city might have done it, or your local utility. The name of the company is Garden Soft. So kind of a sort of backwards way to get to it for your city. If, say, I don't know where you live, if you're on this webinar, go to gardensoft.com and see if you can find the water conservation links, and then you'll see all of the cities that they contracted with, and maybe you'll find yours there.
Cool. And We have a question along those lines. Someone wants to know, tell us about the landscape we're seeing behind you.
Oh, well, I wish I could say that was mine, but mine's better, actually.
Okay.
That is one of the sites that we gave a rebate to. But I will tell you a little bit about mine. My front and backyard are about 95% native, and I didn't really intend to say, oh, I want all natives. I just sort of got there, and they just grow really well. Manzanita grows really well. Ceanothus grows really well. And it's all natives. And the amount of habitat I've created is phenomenal. Yes, like everyone else this last month, we have spiders. Everybody seems like there's a big spider.
Really?
Spiders are eating other insects.
Oh, yeah.
And my
It's a food
lizards are
web.
eating the spiders. And so it's really fun to do a nice landscape. And over time, if I dig in my soil, it's rich, it's beautiful, because I added organic material, and I'm not, like a lawn, the soil just kind of goes away. So
And that's a beautiful plug for next month's episode of Sustainability Live, which will feature Kathy Kramer and Kelly Marshall talking about landscaping with natives. So we'll say more about that in a second.
And anyone on this, if you can make that, Kelly Marshall is a dynamite landscape designer. One thing I didn't mention in our rebate program for lawn to landscape, we have a service called, let's say you get into our program, but you don't know how to start. Well, you can hire one of 16 designers that we have on a list. They will come to your house, give you a 2-hour design consultation. You pay $150, and then when you finish your project, we will reimburse you that.
Oh, wow.
Kelly, I would have to say Kelly is one of the top designers in there, because she's really fast at it. I mean, they're all fabulous, but she just has done a lot of them, and she's very good. She lives in Clayton, so she really knows that area well. And you can't go wrong getting any of the designers we have if you're going to do the lawn to garden.
And along those lines, speaking of designers, we have a very interesting comment from Margaret, who points out that rosemary and manzanita are fire fuel, and that the city of Orinda is mandating that people remove junipers from their landscape. So, as we move forward, there's drought resistance, but there's also, fire hazard material.
I went to a really good seminar from an expert who's just made it his life work. And it is true, if you have a lot of plants right up against your house, as opposed to all lawn or all concrete, yes, it's going to add more. But the biggies are underwatered dead stuff. So trees overhanging your house, manzanita. If you have manzanita, it's not anymore going to explode, in fire as pretty much any plant. But if it's dry because you've never watered it and it's dying, it's different.
Right. Up on Mount Diablo, it's a different environment because it doesn't rain for 6 months.
Yeah, and this guy gave a good example. He said the hotel in Berkeley, the
Claremont
Hotel, it has a whole bunch of eucalyptus trees on one side. And this guy comes out in his presentation, he says, those eucalyptus trees helped the Claremont. And I said, no. Eucalyptus trees are bad, aren't they? They just burn. And he said, yes, when you let them grow and you don't touch them, they have all this dead wood and dead bark, right?
Right.
Well, those trees, because the Claremont Hotel manicures them, they hack them back every year. When that fire came, most of it was lush growth, the new growth, and it didn't burn that well. There wasn't dead material. So it really showed the maintenance was a bigger part than the plant itself.
Interesting. I do remember that fire. We have someone also asking about filters that you can attach to your washing machine to filter out fibers, and in one case they were asking about microplastics and stuff. It's kind of not in your category, but if you're trying to keep pollution materials out of our water stream, anything that you can add to filter that out.
I don't know, but that's very interesting. When it gets to central sanitary, they do a lot of cleaning, but I don't know about, how you would get micro. So I don't really know. I'm sorry. I said,
Well, our community organizer Colleen put in the chat a link to an article that explains the situation and some of the products that people can use on their own washing machine drain.
cool.
There are things available now. People are really starting to think about this, which is wonderful.
I think that's, and on the line of what's going into the sewer system, in the old days, we remember, fats, oils, and grease. We don't want those going down. So when we were talking about not rinsing your dishes, if you have an oily pan, say you cooked a bunch of veggies in olive oil, take a paper towel, give it a wipe, put that in your compost bin, the one that goes, mine all go to the street, but wipe it. And that way, if you're putting that pan if you're washing in the sink, at least all that oil is not going down the drain.
Yeah, makes sense. Good. Well, let's open it up to the audience for further questions. Those of you that haven't posted your questions on chat, Tyler's monitoring the participant list. And if you either want to raise your hand or we'll count to 10 and let somebody speak up. You want to unmute folks, Tyler, or are we looking for raises of hands?
Yeah, you can use the Zoom raising hand feature. And I did also just change the settings so that you can unmute yourself. But
yeah, just looking through here.
If you just do the little.
I see a question from Shakir.
Hi, yes. Just a second to unmute myself.
Sure.
So I have my backyard, I have these large trees here that are causing the roots to go in the soil, because of which my grass has died. And I'm, even though I try to water it, I put seeds on it, the grass is just not coming. So is that a candidate for converting to the, the drought tolerant offer or the plan that EB Mud does?
Yeah. So if I heard you right, your lawn is filled with tree roots right below the surface, right? So you don't get much lawn growth. Yeah, and the reason those roots, by the way, are on the surface is because when you watered your lawn, you water it fairly shallowly. And so tree roots don't grow, tree roots don't go down looking for water. Tree roots grow where there's water. So that's why they're there. So it's a great thought that, hey, let's just lose the lawn and maybe you come in and add some soil amendment and build it up a little bit and then just plant plants there. And, you might have to be careful where you're digging. So it's a great candidate. If that is your backyard, it would not apply for a rebate for us. I'm not sure about East Bay Mud, but either way, it's not a bad plan to do, whether you get a rebate or not. But I would check if you're in East Bay Mud. What city do you live in?
San Ramon.
Yeah, so East Bay Mud. So check with them first, and their website's pretty clear on it. If they do backyards or not, they might. I know that we don't, but they might.
Okay, and you're not from eBay Mud? I didn't realize.
No, I'm from Contra Costa.
Contra Costa Water District.
We're the slightly better one east of East Bay Mud.
There you go, exactly. Along those lines, I notice people going out with the fan sprayers and just kind of watering the plant, maybe a little around the base or something like that. They'll stand around a little bit. It seems to me that that's basically a waste of water. Some plants like to be moistened from the top, especially on hot days, but maybe go over it with very lightly. And I can't imagine that any of that water soaks in. It just seems like a waste of time.
It's not really a whole lot for the plants unless you're really focusing on maybe have 2 or 3 new plants in your yard compared to the rest, and you're trying to give them a little spot spray.
Right.
I think it's more therapeutic for the homeowner.
Right. Yeah. So I find I use one of those water wands. Yeah. So I can get right down to the ground and water around the base of the plant. Hold it for a long time. But the sprayers, I see people just kind of coloring their landscape with their water devices. So let's see here if we've got any other questions. I don't see any more hands raised. Anybody just want to speak up quickly? It's 5 minutes to 8. We'll tell you what, Chris, this is great information. I always enjoy your presentations. You're obviously a very knowledgeable guy and you're doing great work, and thank you very much. So I want to pass this now over to Tyler to give us our sustainability tip of the week and our upcoming events from Colleen.
Yes, so we'll start with sustainability tip of the month. And guess what? It's about water conservation. We're basically just reinforcing what Chris said, but we have a new youth team. We're very proud at Sustainable Contra Costa to have a very active team of young people who are doing great work. They're called Sustainable Leaders in Action. And they've started an Action of the Month program where they are promoting to their team and all their audience a particular action. And so we are going to be echoing their action in the rest of the Sustainable Contra Costa programs. So their action this month is good old-fashioned take shorter showers. You know, it's kind of simple stuff. And as you heard Chris say, maybe not the single most effective thing of inside the home water conservation, but still anything helps. So think about that, whether your shower could be shorter, but also, as Chris mentioned very cleanly, think about the fixture. Do you have a low flow head?
Right.
And of course, you can do that low flow on your bathroom and kitchen fixtures, faucets, and you can put in the low flow toilets, especially if you have an older toilet and it's coming time to replace it. Make sure it's a good low flow type. And then the other actions, these are all taken from the Cleaner Contra Costa Challenge. You can see the website up there on how to join that. Is the simple one, but I'm sure I'm guilty of violating it sometimes, is to run the washing machine or the dishwasher when you have a full load only. Unless you have a really slick washing machine that can sense the size of the load and adjusts the water accordingly. But if not, wait till you got a full load, because it's definitely more efficient that way. And then the higher level action, of course, if you're ready to spend the money, is to actually upgrade your appliances. So all of those are inside the house actions, but we do want to make sure you heard me say, and we'll repeat it again in a second, that for your landscaping water conservation, planting plants that are drought tolerant is one of the keys. And next month's episode will feature experts on that topic and some other amazing reasons why you might consider native plants that don't have to do with water conservation. So that's important to think about too. But our actions this month are for inside the house. Definitely talk to your water utility, as Chris mentioned. All the utilities have it, it's in their interest for you to conserve water. So they have resources for you. But also there's some sort of global websites with great information. The EPA one there, epa.gov/watersense, has a lot of great information. And that waterusitwisely.com actually is from Arizona. And don't be put off, because 90% of the stuff on that site is applicable to everybody. And as you can imagine, people in Arizona are thinking a lot about water conservation. So check all of that out. And of course, do head over to cleanercontracosta.org if you haven't already joined. It's a great platform where you can track your actions, earn points, join a team, start a team, and kind of do the community approach to reducing your carbon footprint. Remember, water conservation is a climate issue, because conserving water also conserves carbon emissions. So check all that out at cleanercontracosta.org.
Great, thank you, Tyler. And Colleen is going to give us our upcoming events for the month.
Oh, I wonder if Colleen.
I wonder if she's muted.
Oh, sorry about that. I did. Okay.
There you go. Hey, Colleen.
Thank you, Tyler. So as Tyler just mentioned and gave a very compelling argument for, our next Sustainability Live event will be a fantastic opportunity to learn about how to enhance your backyard habitat for local fauna, also improve your property value, and just create a beautiful habitat for yourself. So that will be on August 26th at the same time, 7 to 8:30 p.m.
Yeah.
And in mid-August, we will also be hosting a smart homeowner webinar. So if you enjoyed this event and you're interested in learning about more ways to save energy and water throughout your home, also save money throughout your living space. Please stay tuned for details. We'll be publicizing that through our social media accounts such as Instagram and Facebook, and also through our newsletter, SCOCO Insights. Finally, we'll be hosting our annual annual awards gala. This year it will be online, but it still will be a fantastic event to recognize schools, businesses, individuals, and nonprofits who are doing great sustainability work in our community. Finally, you can find all of our programs and ways to connect with us at sustainablecoco.org. If you have any questions, you can email us using this email here, info@sustainablecoco.org. And as Tyler said, please feel free to sign up for the Cleaner Contra Costa Challenge. This is an opportunity to work with your friends, neighbors, and colleagues to incite climate action through your everyday actions. So it's very similar to the event we just held, but we have a lot of easy, low-cost actions that you can take and save water and energy in your home, as well as money. We've already reduced 161 tons of carbon dioxide as a county community, and you can join us in our goal to reduce 500 tons. So please check it out if you're interested.
Great, thank you, Colleen. Go ahead.
Oh, I was going to go on to thank yous.
Yes,
if that's
sure, please, yes.
Okay, so this has been Sustainability Live, a production of Sustainable Contra Costa. It has been presented as part of our community education and outreach program. Our goals for the show are to provide you with useful and timely information about all aspects of living sustainably, guided by the 10 One Planet Living principles, and to provide an online community for sharing information and learning together. I'd like to thank our sponsors who have helped us out tonight. Those are Central San, Mount Diablo Resource Recovery, Contra Costa Green Business Program, MCE, the cities of Antioch, Pittsburgh, Martinez, Pleasant Hill, and Walnut Creek, Republic Services, Contra Costa Water District,
Yay!
Recycle Smart, and finally Contra Costa Center Transit Village. I'd also love to thank tonight's volunteer crew. We have a new producer, Gotham Sathasan, our director and host, Mark Westwind, and technical director, Tyler Snordham Phelps. For more information about One Planet Living and all of Sustainable Contra Costa's programs, activities, and special events, please visit our website at sustainablecoco.org. Finally, your support is always welcome. You can also make a donation on our website.
Thank you, Colleen. Great. Tyler, you want to tell us how people can watch the show afterwards?
Yeah. Just so quickly how you can connect. If you didn't catch it already, you can talk to Contra Costa Water District if you're a customer, or if you're not. You can see all the resources that they have at ccwater.com. Chris's email, cdundon@ccwater.com. And we thank him again so much for all his support and great work over the years. And then to get in touch with us, there's our website. You can make a donation at the /support page. But on the homepage, I want to encourage you, sustainablecoco.org. There's a nice little box there. You pop in your email address and you will be subscribed to our monthly newsletter and hear about all the cool stuff that we do. We promise not to overwhelm you with email. It's just a few emails a month and you will find out about a lot of great programs. Of course, we have active Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube channels. And that's where you'll find this program on our YouTube channel. Probably by the end of the day tomorrow, it will be ready to watch. And it's just go to YouTube, type in Sustainable Contra Costa, and you'll find us. So thanks so much, everybody.
Great. And thank you once again, Chris. We appreciate it. Thank you, Tyler. Thank you, Colleen. Thank you all for joining us. Please join us again in August. We'll see you next time. Be safe.
Bye. Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.